Hello there, aspiring Tinnos. I know that the graph drawing thingy that I have made here is a little bit of a nightmare, but don't worry, we'll go through this step by step and I'll explain what is going on. This is basically the content cycle in Warframe. This is the cornerstone of investing, which is basically how you're gonna make a lot of platinum long term. Basically, you want to have the items that's worth a lot when they are worth a lot, and you want to have as many of them as possible. So let's go ahead and take a look at this nightmare that I have made. So we'll talk about Titania Prime because she's the next one to get vaulted. But first we'll take a look at Titania on her release date. So this is month 0, day 0, hour 1. Titania comes out, and for the first couple of hours she's worth a lot of platinum. If you can get a set together in the first hour and a half, you can make as much as 1600 platinum. You have to get a little bit lucky on that, yes, but it is indeed possible. Now she very rapidly decreases in price because there are very few people who are willing to pay this much, so people have to lower their prices. Within a couple of days she will hit 200, and then from there she will more slowly continue to decrease in price. Now if you will see here, we have the same line for Inaros, and that's because a primed frame doesn't have to be good. As a matter of fact, Inaros is one of the worst frames in the game right now. He doesn't really offer a lot, but his price is still incredibly high because of the prestige and the novelty of a new primed warframe. So they pretty much all follow the same curve. Primed warframes, which are very popular, just fall a little bit more slowly, but the difference is not that great. Now let's focus on Titania. As you can see, her curve continues to fall as time goes on. And by the way, there are roughly a 3 months difference between each of these different stages. Each time a new Prime Warframe is released, it's roughly 3 months. Sometimes it's a little less, sometimes it's 4 months. But for the most part, DE is very consistent with their release of new Prime Warframes. Anyways, time goes on, she keeps falling in price. Around the 6 to 7 to 9 months, she will be down to around 30 to 25. Very popular Warframes like Mesa Prime might hover around 40 at this point, but it's rare. Then, as we move towards... so here, when the next Warframe comes out after Harrow, we don't know which one this is for sure yet, but we can theorize. But when they come out, the price will be around 30 to 25, but most likely 30 because people do start to think about investing, and that does remove some of them from the market, which then, you know, same supply, but more demand, less supply, fewer items available. Now, at the 21 month after being released, Titania is then vaulted, which means that her relics can no longer be farmed. And as you'll see here, she then starts to slowly increase in price. This is not to scale, by the way. Focus on numbers, not the curve. But she will slowly start to increase in price, and sort of about 6 months, 5 months after she was vaulted, she will have doubled her price. And about 9 months after she was vaulted, she will have tripled or almost tripled the price. Sorry, she will have quadrupled, so increased by 4 times. And this is true for all primed warframes in the game. So just to reiterate, this area up here near the top, until around 150 platinum, depending upon how much you already have. If you have a very small amount of platinum, you might want to keep going all the way down to 100. But this is a time where you want to farm these warframes. You don't want to buy them, you don't want to flip them, you just want to farm them. And there's a couple of days where there are a great opportunity to make a lot of starter platinum from doing this. Then as the price continues to fall, once it reaches about 30, so for around 6 months until the 21st month of their release, this is the time where you want to buy them. Now realistically, you really only want to buy them in the last 3 months because there'll always be like another Prime Warframe after that you can invest in instead. So you don't really want to, you know, invest when there's like half a year before they get vaulted. That doesn't make any kind of sense. So around these last 3 months you want to invest, you can buy them for around 30 platinum each. And then from here, obviously, again, less available, the price goes up, 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 up. And this is the time where you're just gonna wait. This is essentially when you'll be making your passive gains. Now, this is only for Warframes, by the way. Let's talk about something like primed mods. Now, primed mods are quite a bit different than Warframes. Kind of the same, but first up, they more so run on a constant 3 months cycle. So when you get them, they're going to be very cheap because everyone has access to them through Barrow. As most of the cheap ones get bought out, the price will increase. So it will roughly increase to 80 platinum. It can be higher. I've sold Prime Cryo rounds for 130. I sold 20 of those at some point and I made a good amount of platinum, but I was more locked than anything else. And I took a huge risk by waiting that long. I mainly did it for experimental purposes, and I've lost out on good investments many times by waiting longer than 80 platinum. Try and go for that 80. It's up to you, of course. These are the micro decisions that you can make, but I don't advise that you go above 80. But anyways, what's different about primed Warframes is that they will never reach this 30 platinum again. If you look at Warframes like Nyx and Rhino, who were just unvaulted for 3 months, they never came close to this 30 platinum mark again. That's mainly because it's more difficult to get your hands on their relics. You have to go through the void. They don't just drop as part of the main drop table, and also they're just not they are not available for long enough for them to return to their normal price. So even with the primed unvaulting or even the primed resurgence event, for example, you can go ahead and take a look at Frost, who's been unvaulted here for a little while. He's one of the worst frames in the game at this moment. And I ask you, is his price down to 30? You can go ahead and check that for yourself. Is it even close? So keep in mind that this is a extremely safe investment to make, just because of the fact that you know, it's never gonna get this low again. So, and even if it did, you haven't lost anything. It's not gonna go below 30 platinum. Like, come on, it's not gonna happen. The only other thing that I really want to talk about is events in Warframe, because, you know, when stuff becomes unavailable, it also becomes worth more. It almost follows a wave curve. So, for example, we have Plague Star, where the Contagious Arcane is really expensive when the event has been gone for almost a year, whereas when it's available, it's very cheap. But it basically resets in the same way that Prime Mods does. It's only Prime Warframes that sort of retain some of their value when they are reintroduced into the game. Now, most major events, and I'm not talking like Ghoul Purge or Thermal Fractures, stuff like that, reoccurring events that happens all the time. But I'm talking about like Plague Star, I'm talking about Prime Resurgence, the old Acolyte event, stuff like that, all fixed events, usually, but not guaranteed, usually these events are yearly or close to yearly. So it might be worth looking up when they last happened. And if you get any items from them around the 9-month mark, you want to consider selling these items, because after that point, you're basically running the risk of these events being reintroduced, which would essentially decrease the value of a lot of the items in your inventory, thereby decreasing your value overall. So definitely make sure that you keep in mind how long ago it was that the event was introduced, at least the events in which you have items invested. So that's pretty much everything there is to cover about the cycle of content in Warframe. Get it when it's available, and then just sit on it for as long as possible, and then sell high. Buy low, sell high. Anyways, that's everything from me this time, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one.